Do you want to? I have how many steps do I have here? 6 things that they need to consider this offseason, and we can give our thoughts on each one. Yes?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Kristaps Porzingis. He has a player option for, I believe, $36 million. And you would think would like a long-term contract. Even if it's around that same amount, he's probably looking for 4 or 5 years or whatever, probably 4. Do you try to re-sign him if he indeed does opt out?
I think I would, if I were them, I think actually tanking would make a ton of sense.
Yeah. So no on Porzingis.
Right.
No on Kuzma.
Yeah.
Also
let
has
Kuzma
a player
go.
option.
Yeah, let Kuzma go. Fine player, but I don't want to be paying Kyle Kuzma like just a boatload of money. If
And
you're
he's
going
to
to
have a market. I mean, if the trade deadline,
he is the exact he is the exact kind of player a lot of teams need.
And he's the exact type of player that I think the Wizards would have overpaid and kept for no real reason for a long time now, right? And so same Jan Mahinmi and like all these guys that they've just had and have collected dust on their books. So if they let both of those guys go, they also have up to $36 million in cap space. Those two, and then you have like Will Barton, renounce him. Kendrick Nunn, I think he's like non-guaranteed or partially guaranteed. Get rid of him. All that type of stuff. And then you're left with $35.8 million in cap space. I would personally feel like if you don't sign those guys and you have that space, I think you just use that space to absorb bad contracts via trade. Personally.
Yep.
And get picks. Be the vacuum to suck up all the bad stuff that other teams. Tobias Harris. Sure. Daryl Morey, you want to get another star for Joel Embiid? Like, give us a pick and we'll take Toby. And he can come play in Washington this year. I think that's always the smartest way for bad teams to use cap space.
Yeah, I'm curious, and I think then it's okay. What of your young guys do you actually like? You know, like, do you believe? Like, I mean, I don't think they have like their next great star on their roster already. I don't think that's the case. But do you flip some of the guys you have that you've had that have been fine and okay? Like, what do you think of Johnny Davis? And then there's obviously the Bradley Beal question. The Bradley Beal thing is kind of at the center of this, even though Bradley Beal has lots of power to dictate this. And, like, I don't know how many teams are out there saying, yeah, I'd like to pay Bradley Beal the full value of his contract.
So Bradley Beal obviously is where you have to start with this. I mean, not start, but Bradley Beal is where the biggest decision will be coming for the Washington Wizards and where they need to nail. I don't know what to make of him as a player. He's 29, going on 30. There was a period after John Wall got hurt / eventually left where you would have felt like Beal was one of the best scorers in the entire league and somebody who absolutely could be an offensive engine for you. I mean, this is a guy who averaged 31 points per game in back-to-back seasons during the pandemic, shooting 46 to 50% from the field, 35% from three, got to the line. Then all of a sudden, the past 2 years, he's just been injured and I don't want to say fallen off a cliff, but between his efficiency dipping a bit and then his overall production dipping, I don't think you would look at him as somebody who's a number one option on a great team, and his defense is nowhere to be seen at this point in time. So if I'm another team around the league, for a guy who's making $47 million this upcoming season, you have to be pretty desperate to appease another superstar or find a co-pilot for your young up-and-coming star with not a lot of other salaries on your books in order to feel like Beal is worth what is now a pretty considerable risk considering injuries, fall-off, and lack of two-way play. Do you have somewhere you think he should go? That's the question.
No, that's the thing. But, like, can you get someone desperate enough to want it? Like, would Philly get desperate enough and do this? That's the team to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one that really comes to mind. Maybe the Lakers, maybe. But
I don't
like
even think they have
that's
enough salary, the Lakers, because he makes so much. You just have to stack up so much stuff on top of each other to get up to his number.
But even like Philly, it's like, how good? Like, would you feel like? I just don't think Beal's the same guy anymore.
I think the case would be, well, we've seen him be an amazing scorer. We've seen him be a better, more impactful defender at the very least, even if you never, an elite defender. We've seen him be a guy who can take more threes and be more of a secondary scorer. I mean, 2016-17, he shot 48% from the field, 40% from three. He took 7 threes a game that season and had 23 points per game, same as he did this year, but on a way more efficient shot diet. So we've seen him be different things. You could imagine a world where next to a Joel Embiid type of player, he can slide back into more of a complementary role, commit himself to defense a little bit, and make an impact. But it's a big if, and you're paying him like he's a lot better than that. You're paying him like he's a number one player, and he's probably not. I have one for you, and I don't know how I feel about it because it might be a little duplicative on their roster. But the Grizzlies came to mind. Is he too similar to Desmond Bane?
Yeah, I feel like you're trading Bane. Yeah, I don't know if you
Maybe you're trading Bane.
Yeah, I don't know if I would do that though.
Another one I thought of, is it that much of an upward move to trade CJ McCollum for him?
For the
if
cost,
you're the Pelicans.
Yeah, and like there's a leadership question I would have there. Like McCollum seems like I just listened to McCollum on Russillo, and the way he talks about like the Zion stuff, it's like I feel like that's kind of important. Yeah. I think Philly is the answer here if this is gonna happen.
So it's Philly or he stays in Washington.
Well, yeah, or does Miami just be like F it, Heat culture? Here's the thing, Brendon. Here's
our
just
Donovan backup plan.
Yeah, older Donovan. Trading for Beal would be the most expensive change of scenery bet in NBA history. That's what this is, and that's it's crazy. It just is. Here's one other team that just because there's a St. Louis connection, if their summer got weird, wonder if Boston would just be like, hey.
Yeah. I just think Brown. I would probably just rather have Brown.
Yeah, but I'm saying if Brown is like, I'd really like to
leave.
Yeah.
What about last one. Milwaukee. Chris Middleton for Bradley Beal. You get a little younger. You have a little more juice on the perimeter, a little more creativity and kind of quickness at your wing spot versus Middleton's old man game. And you at least have sort of a younger co-pilot for Giannis's late 20s, early 30s. I like that, actually.
I don't hate it. It's still like a lot of money for like what that team is, but they're over a barrel anyway. Like they're kind of like they have to do something like that, I think, if they're going to keep just going forward with this.
Yeah, you could do Middleton and Grayson Allen, and then I don't know what my Milwaukee's pick situation is, but
who's
I know
the third
they're
team
not out
that's
of
like
picks.
getting who's like the third team that's getting Middleton?
Well, I don't know how the specifics of it, but I believe if you did it like on draft night, you might be able to have Middleton just opt in and play out the last year of his contract in Washington. I don't know. Maybe you do it and then he can opt out. I don't know how that works, but where Middleton goes is a much bigger question. I just think Beal is... I think you would want him with that type of a situation. Embiid's similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't need him to be a good defender because the defense is sorted out elsewhere. But he provides a nice balance offensively to the superstar you already have. So, yeah, those are probably the types of teams. Do you think they have to do it this summer?
Yeah, so this is where I wanted to go with you, where I wanted to end this. Can the Wizards actually reset unless they just move on from Beal? Like, can they actually do the kind of reset that they probably need to do if Beal is just like around still?
I think they can, only because I think some of their reset is going to come by way of the players that are already on the roster. This isn't, a team with no young talent where you're starting from absolute scratch. Like, I think you still want to see what Denny Avdia is, what Corey Kispert maybe can be, even Daniel Gafford, who's not super young, but you want to see maybe what he can be, the guy who they draft this year as well. So, like, I think a more gradual thing is possible here, but I don't think you should have Beal on your team at the start of next season. But you just don't want to jump the gun if there's no market.
Yeah. If there is ever a team that can maybe just like get some lottery luck, like being the 8th pick for them, like this would be so much easier if they just had like the 3rd pick and could take like Scooter, Brandon Miller, like where it's like we look at like the Hornets and are like, what do they do? Because they have LaMelo. How do you perceive that? What is Portland going to do? Are they going to trade it? Whatever. Are they going to like are they going to try to get Mikal Bridges or something like that? If the Wizards had the 3rd pick, they could just be like, you know what, we're just going to take somebody and we're going to figure it out. And like that would just be like the cleanest thing that they could use. And they just haven't had that lottery luck.